Hello and welcome to this second vlog extra about the Mandela effect on my vlog channel. This is a special one. I thought I'd do this in a voiceover capacity. It's actually a request. I joined two groups. One about the Mandela effect. One is an English group or English language group. The other is a Brazilian group or a Portuguese group, but it's specifically people from Brazil. And they asked me to do this vid about the anatomical changes that have been going on according with the Mandela effect. So let's get to it, I guess. It's again gonna be a personal one. I even took some notes to get together my thoughts a little. Let's start with the skeleton. There are some changes I think that have been going on. I don't say that every change that has been going on according to everybody is a change that I perceive, but at least I perceive some change. The skeleton, like for instance the rib cage. Many people say that the rib cage is different, and it certainly is. Some say that the floating ribs or how to call them, that they were not present. I expressly remember they are present, and I did some anatomical studies, related studies actually. I'm a clinical laboratory technician or a laboratory technician for a hospital. In this capacity, we had a basic anatomy course, and I do remember that the floating ribs were there, but not as tiny. They weren't as tiny as seen on this picture or seen on the pictures today. What I distinctly remember as different is that the rib cage, it actually started out at the back, arced down like it is here on the picture, and then arced up again to the breast bone. And I believe the breastbone was a lot bigger at the time. What I also remember is, and I don't know if you people do, that is that the bones of the shoulder or the shoulder blades, that they weren't going as much down, but that they were more to the center, more elongated to the center. I even remember that sometimes I would crouch up my shoulders, and so I could almost have the two shoulder bones touch. I don't know if other people remember it like that, but at least I do. Let's take into in consideration now the skull. I believe the skull was different. I believe our brain mass, where the brain was, that it was a little bigger, a little rounder, and that the jawbones were a little, in comparison, a little or not so wide, to explain it like that. And I also see on this picture I'm showing, and on some pictures beside it, you will see that on some they have bones behind the eyes. I never remember bones behind the eyes. There isn't hair on my head that can remember that. It wasn't there. It was just wasn't there. There weren't any bones behind the eye sockets. It was a hollow skull. Now let's look at the organs. What the hell happened there? The organs are all the way up in the chest cavity. It's like our lung capacity halved, and the stomach and the liver is up there, and the stomach area or the belly area only has intestines. What the hell is going on there? I do not remember it like this. The way I remember it is you have this diaphragm. I don't know if you remember that. It kind of split the torso up in half, and it sort of followed, in my opinion, the rib case. So what I remember is that the chest cavity was all lung and heart, and that the organs were a lot more down. Let's talk about that chest cavity for a moment. Wasn't the heart a little more to the left? On the left picture, you can see it already arcs a little bit to the left, but I remember it a lot more to the left. I even remember this bad joke about a woman wanting to commit suicide and the doctor telling her that she had to take a gun and put it like 2 centimeters below the left breast and just pull the trigger. And she went and capped her left kneecap. Now, it's a bad joke, I know it's a little disrespectful, but I remember certainly that the heart was a lot more to the left and that the lungs were like positioned so that that could happen. Then look at this liver. What's going on there? It never was this big. It never was this big. This liver looks more like it takes up about half the body. I really don't know what's happening there. And then the intestines. I mean, they look on this picture and on other pictures. They look like it's a jumbled mess, and I don't remember it like that. I remember that it was folded up more nicely, more. Uh, I don't know, more nicely. It was more arranged. It was better, and the stomach was a lot more uh, down. I remember that you could punch someone when you punch somebody in the stomach. You punched him below the ribcage, not against the ribcage, as it is sometimes pictured now. So I don't know what's going on there, but definitely some stuff changed. Also, the spleen, right corner, you see the spleen. I remember my brother, he had a car accident. His spleen was ruptured. They had to take it out, and he had a scar from it. And I distinctly remember the scar being in the lower parts of the belly area, actually. So, yeah, there is definitely something going on anatomically. And then there is one more thing I wanted to talk to you about, and it's the kidneys. They're all up here in also in the chest cavity, and I really don't remember it. I remember they were more down, just above the pelvis in the back. There's even a story I can tell about a friend of mine. He was a guy who did taekwondo, and he wanted to show me some basic self-defense tricks or self-defense stuff to do. And what he said was, you can kick somebody in the kidneys. He showed me, and had he had me do it to him, but it was supposed to be a non-contact kick, and I misjudged it, and I actually kicked him in the kidney on the right side. I remember it as if it was yesterday. The guy went down. I had to put him back up on a seat. I profusely had to excuse myself for doing that. It wasn't really not the intention that I did it, but it happened. And that's why I so remember that those kidneys were down there and not, as they say now, that they are up in the chest cavity. So, why is this all happening? Is our consciousness shifting from one dimension into another, or from one alternate world into another, or the alternate worlds merging together? Did this happen because there was an accident at CERN with the Hadron Collider? Is it because somebody is really doing this either from an evil standpoint or not? My personal belief is that it's actually not so much somebody doing it as it is more a kind of an accident that happened, which created a quantum ripple, which is either merging some alternate dimensions very close to us, or which is sort of having cracks into the fabric of space through which our consciousness is shifting from one world to another, or shifted from one world to another. Are we in the Matrix? Is this a computer simulation? And is somebody messing with us through that simulation? Or is there a virus or something present in this simulation? There is another theory out there, however. Did the world really end in 2012? Or has the disaster of Fukushima in Japan has something to do with it? Some people believe that Fukushima, which was actually 2011, I went to look it up, that this disaster actually ended the world, that a few scientists survived it, and that they reinitiated the world somehow, and they had to like alter the universe or our reality in some way to do it. There are some changes that are geographical, which I will talk about in another vid. Maybe next week, we'll see. But they also say that the anatomical changes might be so we could cope with the higher radiations or with more pollutants in the sky or whatever. I think this is a little bit too fantastic of a theory to me, that it is a little bit too much out there. I still want to believe in more an accident-wise thing or whatever. I really don't know, and I really don't see any problem why you should think that or not. You have your own opinions, and you're welcome to them. I hope you like this video. You can either put a like on it or a dislike. I would really appreciate some comments on this. What do you think is happening? Is this really happening? Is it all in our minds? Some feedback would be very, very nice. And I will see you in my normal vlogs, if you want, of course, and maybe on my main channel, who knows.